Greetings, Talvar, and welcome to another episode from the Puretide Program. Today we're going to be discussing the stealth suits. This has been probably one of the most exciting and disappointing releases of all time for Tau players because the new models are amazing, they look super cool, dynamic, and they kind of remind me of the old stealth suit models of the past. The disappointing news is that they came with no new rules and it actually was a side nerf. And the reason this was a massively impactful to us as Tau players is because every list, no matter what detachment, tended to have 2 to 3 units. So what we're going to do in this episode, it's not going to be a doom episode. We're not going to be going through all of the negatives and complaining for 20 minutes. We're going to be looking at the problem itself. So I'm going to be going over the overview of what's happened to the stealth suits. And I'm going to be then looking at solutions. I'm going to be looking at which detachments I think are going to be hurt the most with this change, and which detachments are actually not going to be that impacted by the stealth suits. So without further ado, let's go straight into what those changes are. And I know that a lot of you will already be aware of them, and you're deep in the list building design step again because it changes every single Tau list. So let's get straight into it. Okay. Stealth suits. Let me load it up. All right, so in the past, it was a 3-man unit. You could have a 6-man, but 9 times out of 10 you didn't, simply because a 3-man does the job perfectly. It's a small footprint, so you could fit them in really kind of tight spaces. They can help you do like sneaky actions, especially in like footprints that had like a tiny little square, like in GW, in a ruin. You had the little bit that was outside of your no man's land. Sorry, outside your deployment in no man's land that you could place 3 stealth suits and do sabotage, for example. So the change to the unit size now, there's no longer 2 options of 3 or 6. It's just flat 5. So you've got 5-man unit, which means straight away, one nerf is that because they have a bigger footprint, they won't be able to fit in those tiny little spaces to do those cheeky little actions. So that, again, is a bit disappointing, but it's what we have to deal with now. So 5 models. Now, the points from the previous stealth suit datasheet was 80 points for 3, 120 for 6. So now it's just 110 points. So you're like, okay, 110 points. Every list now, if you took 2 units of stealth suits, which most of my lists will have 2 units of stealth suits in, was what will have been 60 points increase. So I'm having to find 60 points from somewhere to drop. If you're taking 3, that's 90 points, which is effectively a Pathfinder unit. And if you're taking 2 units of stealth suits rather than 3, 60-point increase is like a piranha. Okay, so this change for me has essentially dropped 1 unit from every list. And whether that be like Kroot and Aux riders, whether that be a piranha, whether that be a strike team, whatever it may be in your list, you've effectively lost 1 unit to soak up the points increases from your, stealth suits. So again, that's kind of frustrating because this one release has come with new points, but no new rules to kind of go, you know what, I don't mind eating the extra 30-point tax because I've got these cool new rules. Nope, no new rules, just a massive impact to your list design because you have to eat the points from somewhere. So the other nerf was that the stealth suit Shas'ui used to have the battlesuit support system, which meant that himself could go, okay, I'm engaged, the unit can fall back, and because he is still eligible to shoot, it allows you to still guide. That no longer exists. And I think this is the frustration point. And I've seen all the comments on Reddit, seen them all on Facebook, and I've just been having my finger on the pulse and just letting it die down. But this is the main thing that people are kicking off. The fact that there's brand new models, no new rules, and the removal of the battlesuit support system. So this I can't understand, and I have done my due diligence and sent all of my feedback into GW, and it'll be taken on board. So I recommend that if you're in my Discord, I've provided the links. We can go over to the FAQ team and follow the process there. Please, please, please don't just sit and complain. Be proactive. I think the more proactive the community is in general, the more things will get fixed. So please, if you are still frustrated and you want to give your say, just try to be objective and specifically mention key things rather than sending long paragraphs about how much you're frustrated. That won't impact anything. It's just, here are the facts. This is what it changes. This is why it's difficult for us. Please look at amending this. That's all you can do. But anyway, I go slightly off track here. So what they've done now is that instead of the battlesuit support system, they've put a single pulse pistol on the Shas'ui team leader. So what this means is that if you're engaged in combat, you can still observe. One, it requires you to be alive, and two, you need to ensure that that particular model is not, removed in case you've kind of placed it in an awkward position. Don't be placing your Shas'ui team leader out in the open to guide while the rest of them are behind the wall, because then you won't have a pulse pistol. He'll die if you choose to remove him. So you've got to be very careful with how you place him. And the unit can still obviously guide because he's got a pulse pistol, but it's just awkward because it means that you can't just fall back and guide. You have to specifically go, well, if I'm going to be engaged in combat, then I need to, pile in, consolidate, so I've got a model out in the open to be able to observe somewhere else if you're not observing into the models that are in base contact with you. So it's a little bit tricky. It means that now with your stealth suits, you have to be super defensive and not allow them to get tagged by some trash unit or MSU unit. Now, the other change is that the shield drone has gone. So it was a 3-man unit. The team leader would have a marker drone to give him the marker-like keyword, and then you'd have a shield drone to give him the additional wounds. So you'd have 2 guys with 2 wounds and 1 with 3. That was quite nice because you could allocate the damage as and when you wanted to, and that extra wound could sometimes keep the unit alive. And I kind of like that. But it's gone. And people are like, why? Why is it gone? I'll tell you now, the simple reason it's gone is because it doesn't come in the kit. You do not get a shield drone in the box. You get a marker drone and a gun drone. So GW can't sell what they don't offer in a box. Simple as that. I know it's weird, but from a miniature selling company, it makes sense. So that's the reason why. Now, we still keep the forward observer rule, and that's the one where when this unit is selecting an observer unit until the end of the phase, each time a ranged attack is made by a model in a guided unit that targets their spotted unit, reroll hit roll of 1 and a reroll wound roll of 1 as well. So they basically get to reroll 1s to hit 1s to wound. So that remains the same. They still got the homing beacon, so the rapid ingress for free, as long as one model is set up within 3 of the bearer's unit and more than 9 inches away from the enemy unit. So the other little thing that you get is you get the chance to take an additional fusion blaster. So it used to be 1 in every 3. So if you took a 6-man stealth suit unit, you could take 2 fusion blasters. But now what they've done is they've just added that to a 5-man unit. So you can have 2, the team leader with the fusion blaster, and another one with the fusion blaster as well if you wanted to. That's kind of nice. And the other thing is that they've gained a couple of keywords. They've gained the marker-like keyword. So before they didn't have it, but now they just do. And they also have been given the grenades keyword. So these are some of the benefits, right? You can do a cheeky grenade. You've got a little bit more punch in the unit, whether it be fusion blasters or whether it be just more burst cannons. And also, the unit's in 5-man. So let's talk about some of the pros, okay? So we talked about the cons. We've lost the shield drone, lost the battlesuit support system, and we've lost the whatever. So the pros are a 5-man unit can now screen the backfield better. It can spread out your rapid ingress further as well, and it's got a little bit more extra shooting. So specifically, think about the detachments in your head. Like, where would this benefit be used? Why would I want more shots in my stealth suit unit when they're not really doing the shooting? Well, obviously, Kauyon, because you've got to coordinate to engage, so they themselves can benefit from the guiding mechanic. You've then got Retaliation Cadre, which can, again, when they're within 12, they get +1 strength, so the fusions can go to strength 10, the burst cannons can go from strength 5 to strength 6. If you get within 9, they gain the extra AP as well, so AP 5 fusions, and obviously AP 1 burst cannons. So that actually is okay in those particular detachments. I don't think in any of the detachments we're going to be using these as a kind of like a hammer unit, but I can definitely see this 5-man unit being used as a late game sweeper. So you just push up the board later, take away some trash, And there's a couple of stratagems in, say, Kauyon that can really allow this unit to be quite a good harassment unit for late game, such as the Wall of Mirrors. So you can pull it off and pull it on to the edge of the board somewhere else if you want. So I think there's definitely some pros to the 5-man unit. It's nice to be able to spread out your rapid ingress, and it's nice to be able to easily get from one side of the board to the other. Whereas a 3-man, yes, it can hide in tiny spaces, but couldn't really kind of like go to the other side of the board unless you were in Kauyon and doing Wall of Mirrors. So with a 5-man, you can spread it out 2 inches apart from like one side to then the middle, to then you can shift around and advance this way and be able to guide on another flank if you position your unit correctly. So those are the pros. Okay, so I did mention that we will be looking at which detachments I think are going to be hurt from this. So let's get straight into it, okay? So in terms of our detachments, we have Kauyon and Mont'ka, the Classic, the Killing Blow, and the Patient Hunter. We have Auxiliary Cadre, Kroot, and then we have Experimental Cadre and Retaliation. So I personally feel that Mont'ka is the least affected because Mont'ka has plenty of ways of existing in the hit phase, so doesn't necessarily rely on the wound rolls that stealth suits kind of offer if you to not take them. So with Mont'ka, you have full rerolls to hit stratagem when the enemy's killed a unit of yours, excluding Kroot, and you want to kind of look at what makes Mont'ka efficient, and what makes Mont'ka efficient is the fact that you're going to get lethal. So when you take quality shooting, it's just boosted by the fact that you get a couple of lethals in there, and you don't need to worry about the wound step. Also, units that are granted full rerolls to hit, such as fire knives, if they target the unit that's full starting strength, they get full rerolls to hit, so they're going to be fishing for those lethals. And then when you look at the pinpoint accuracy, pinpoint counter-offensive stratagem, you get full rerolls to hit for the rest of the game. So because Mont'ka wants those lethals, that's where it's fishing for. So the loss of stealth suits isn't really going to hurt, because actually if you drop your stealth suits completely from the Mont'ka list, it's self-sufficient in the hit step, providing that you are using that stratagem for full rerolls to hit properly, and that you're maybe using units that have innate rerolls or rerolls. So I think Mont'ka is going to get away like bandits. The only thing I think that will be missed in Mont'ka is if you're taking crisis suits, that free rapid ingress with the stealth suits. So you might see some lists with 1-unit stealth suits. But for you Mont'ka players out there, I'd honestly take a step back, drop all stealth suits from your list, and look at alternatives. I'm going to be giving you all some alternatives today, and there's some cheeky ones as well. Kauyon. Now, Kauyon, again, you've seen really successful Kauyon lists from Glenasea and many others, and most of those lists will have had 2 units of stealth suits in. 2 units of 3, done. Now, I think actually in Kauyon you can get away with just a single unit of stealth suits because of Wall of Mirrors. And as long as you keep them relatively safe, you can always use Wall of Mirrors to reposition and treat them a little bit like Vespid, especially with the Wall of Mirrors stratagem. So I think Kauyon lists, you've obviously got the coordinate to engage as well. So if you are banking on acting as a unit, as in multiple units tag teaming to kill something, then the stealth suits with the coordinate to engage, maybe a cheeky grenade and stuff, I can see working quite well. But the issue is always going to be getting those stealth suits into position, because if you advance them, you're not shooting because you don't have advance to shoot. Whereas Mont'ka, you do. So there's a little bit of tricky, kind of like finicky positioning that you need to kind of like calculate, because if you put them too far forward, your enemy's going to go for them. You know, whether it's advanced and charging units or JPIs coming to hunt them down, or you at least tag them. So you've got to be very careful. But I can definitely see 1 unit of stealth suits being perfectly fine in Kauyon. You could still go 2, which again, still very good. But I think with the way that you've got coordinate to engage, you want to kind of like really bank on the infantry side of things to slow your enemy down. Like Pathfinders are going to be fantastic in Kauyon, because again, the coordinate to engage with them can be very spicy because of the interaction where you can get Pathfinders hit on 2s, and I've already explained how you do that, but just read the stratagem and then read the Pathfinder's ability, and they stack. So Kauyon, I'd say, again, doesn't really get impacted as much as you think, because they always have the Wall of Mirrors to get them out. And obviously with Sustained, if you look at maybe one unit that's shooting and doesn't get the reroll ones to wound, then the Sustained should mathematically equal out anyway. So you gain 1 extra hit, you might lose 1 extra wound if you don't have the reroll ones. So it kind of balances it out. There's plenty of ways to get, obviously, other rerolls to hit, and we'll go on to that in a second with Commander Shadowsun. But I think that the Kauyon lists, so if I was to put like Mont'ka, I can see like 0 being the new thing, maybe 1 unit, depending on your build. Kauyon, I can say 1, minimum 1, maximum 2. But honestly, I'd say, for me, it'd be 1. Kroot. Now, Kroot's interesting. You might be thinking, well, Kroot don't care, right? Kroot actually do like stealth suits, because what that stealth suit unit does for the Kroot detachment is it allows you to rapid ingress rampages. And CP, you might not be using a lot of CP, but there's plenty of things like grenade stratagems, fall back and shoot, like a reroll here or there, like heroic intervention, interrupt, all that kind of stuff. So having the rapid ingress to overload a flank with like gorillas is actually quite handy. So if you drop the stealth suits, you'd have to factor in, where do I get that CP from somewhere, or do I even rapid ingress? And I think you still do need to rapid ingress, especially if you're taking 3 to 6 rampages. So you could either take an Ethereal that can half the time do the job, most of the time does not. So Kroot, I'd say, again, 0, a little bit like Mont'ka, 0 to 1. Auxiliary Cadre. Now, this is a tricky one, right? Because Auxiliary Cadre is a mixture of both the combat and the shooting. And you're activating in multiple phases, which is something that Tau really needs to start doing. We're living in a world where the combat meta now is upon us. We're already seeing it with like Admech with loads of Ruststalkers. We've got World Eaters, Berserker Heaven, and these are just 2 of the many combat armies out there. So being able to interact in this phase is crucial. So I think the same point applies that I mentioned about the rapid ingress with the rampages, because being able to rapid ingress rampages in Auxiliary Cad is a hell of a lot more lethal than in Kroot, because you can, 1, rapid ingress in such a way where they benefit from the Lone Op 18 if they're positioned wholly within 6 inches of a Tau Empire unit, aka the non-auxiliaries. So like a Ghost Guild chilling there, rapid ingress, hello, or some stealth suits, a 5-man stealth suit there, and then they rapid ingress wholly within 6, and they're like, sick, let's go. And then you could go, right, auto advance and charge, and go and send. So I still think, again, Auxiliary Cad probably in the same route as Kroot, but I would probably put 1 to 2. And the reason I say this is because in Auxiliary, you still want to take your damage dealers, aka your Iron Hammerheads, Skyrays, Riptides, Ghost Kills, Fire Knife, Crisis teams, and they still benefit from the rerolls. So I can see Auxiliary lists taking 1 to 2. My good instinct when I've been writing lists has been 1, and I'm testing it out, because I definitely do think just having that 1 unit gives you the rerolls, and then also gives you that 1 rapid ingress that you need. You just have to be very careful about where you place your stealth suits, because obviously the rapid ingress, if you have 2 units, you can have them on both flanks. All right, and remember that rampages don't deep strike, so they're coming in from the side, the board edge. So you have to be very selective in terms of where those stealth suits are going and where you think the battle is going to happen in the later stages of the game. So 1 to 2 is my recommendation for Auxiliary Cad. And then finally, we've got the 2 detachments that are suit heavy. Now, EPC, this is the frustrating point. Excuse me a second while I take a drink. This is frustrating. This is where I think EPC has been hit the most. And it's not the detachment that needs to be hit, because it's our lowest performing detachment. But them to be hit is just like a kick in the nuts. I'm sorry, but it is. Because EPC has some really, really good stratagems. Like, insanely good for damage. Lethal or sustained, or both. +1 strength, or +1 strength and +1 AP. It's so good. Like, it's giving you stratagems to go point, click, delete. And what loves point, click, delete? Being guided by stealth suits. Reroll 1s to hit, reroll 1s to wound. Bam! All the damage into that unit. I see it now, I don't want to see it later. So EPC is hit the hardest, because they're going to have to still take 2 units, because it's going to be centered around suits. And the reason for this is because, 1, the stratagems, like I've mentioned, a few of them, are on battlesuits. You have defensive stratagems that are allowing you to do -1 to wound on Riptide, Crisis Suits, Ghost Keels, all the battlesuits. You've then got the Lone Op 18 stratagem for Crisis Suits. You've got all these things that are basically asking you to take suits. And suits, outside of the Crisis Suits, don't have the quantity of firepower that you need, but they do have quality. And the quality can be boosted by those stratagems that I've mentioned. So you just really want to bank into the fact that you need the rerolls. So I would say with EPC, you just eat the tax, unfortunately, and you take a minimum of 2. You can play around with, take 2. Don't take 3, that's just wasted. Take 2. You can try with 1, and I think if you combine, say, Shadowsun and 1 stealth suit unit, that might be okay, because you can have reroll 1s to hit and 1s to wound on 1 target, and then you can have the reroll 1s where Shadowsun's away on the other side. I think that could be like a middle ground. So even though I'm going to go in my gut and say 2, I still think you could go Shadowsun and 1 stealth suit, and that saves you, like, what, 10 points, but also gives you another Lone Op character. And Shadowsun's very good in EPC, just FYI, because of the extra 6-inch range. So if fusions go to 24, which is actually a very nice breakpoint. Okay. Now we talk about Retaliation. So this one is interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. Because I think in terms of, if you take my normal list that I've been taking quite a lot last season, in fact, most of the time, which is my 21 Crisis Suits, 6 Commanders, Kroot, 30 Pathfinders, and a Strike Team and 2 Stealth. So that landed on 2,000 points. And it was a very, very good list because, and it still is, because it had enough guiders, it had enough inventory to flood the board, slow it down, control the board state, and then drop in with an unholy amount of Crisis Suits and just nuke your opponent. So when I look at the stealth suit changes, the fact that, like, my stealth suits have gone up, that's 60 points in my list, I had to drop a unit. And this is what I said at the beginning, like, most lists, you just have to drop a unit. So all I basically did was drop to Strike Team, which freed up 75 points, leaving me 15 points left over. So I just put the prototype weapon system on my Cold Star. And then my list is back to normal. So it hasn't changed my list design. I've just lost an infantry unit, but gained 2 5-man stealth units. So the pros and cons there's a lot more pros than cons for my Retcad list, because my stealth suit teams are in a better position where they both can, like, swap sides or guide in multiple places. They can screen the backfield, and obviously they can push out the rapid ingress a bit further towards my opponent, which I like. The only downside is I've lost a unit of strike teams, but I gained 4 more stealth suits. So it doesn't really affect me massively. But saying that, if you were taking Ghost Keels, Riptides, Broadsides, all that kind of stuff in your Retcad list, I think you will definitely feel the pinch. So the interesting thing that I'm testing right now, and in my Discord, we're doing plenty of, like, list building analysis and testing and stuff. So we've got a list building call tonight, for example. It happens every 2 weeks on a Thursday, and we go through each other's lists and basically chop and change and make sure it's all efficient and ready to go. So with Retcad, I would say my gut instinct says just eat the tax and go 2, a little bit like EPC because it's suit heavy. But I am testing 0. And you'll see why in a second when we go into the alternatives. So I hope that's helped you in terms of, your flavors of detachment that you like to take, my recommendations in terms of how many stealth suits you should be looking at taking, and then we'll now move on to the alternatives, because I think this is where the spice is, okay? Right. So obviously we go with the obvious one, Commander Shadowsun. She's great. She's just a 100-point Lone Op character. Yeah, she could be cheaper, but let's just talk about what we've got. She's Lone Op, she gives no reroll 1s in 6 inches. I think that can offset the need for stealth suits. And I think I've already mentioned a couple of detachments. I think she could be fantastic in Kroot if you're taking the tank heavy list with loads of guerrillas. I think her giving like a aura of reroll ones to those tanks is going to be super efficient. Obviously, Shadowsun goes in Kauyon, of course, because that's where she lives. That's her doctrine, if you will. Auxiliary card, yeah, I can. Another loan up characters all good because in auxiliary you want to kind of like bank on as many loan ups as possible because they then themselves can give loan up 18 to the nearby auxiliaries. And then EPC, I can definitely see her there as well. Like I mentioned before, you could get away with having one stealth suit team and Shadowsun. And then Ret Card, interesting one. I think she definitely has a place in all detachments. But again, a reroll aura of a 1 and the potential of getting the CP back is good. So Shadowsun is a good alternative because she's 100 points and a stealth team is now 110 points. So you save yourself 10 points. So let's get on to some of our infantry characters, shall we? So the problem is now, especially because some of the terrain formats have changed, mainly looking at UKTC. UKTC have literally changed the map pack and it's gone heavier. So as UK players are double down, if you will, and hats off to you boys and girls out there. Honestly, stay strong. Let's just have a little bit of faith. Let's just wait and see how it pans out. I'm going to be doing a series on the UKTC deployment later on in December. So stay tuned. So the interesting thing is observing units. The biggest benefit that we've had was the Pathfinder change. The Pathfinder change allowing them to self-guide is huge because they're self-sufficient, right? Absolutely self-sufficient. So you can send them, they guide for themselves, they can guide for others if they want to join them, or can just go solo and have their own adventure and kill stuff. I love that. So that is absolute gold. Now, I think individual guiders that can get up close and personal and go with, say, units that are in transports is going to be crucial. So the reason I've chosen Darkstrider is that Darkstrider can be attached to Pathfinders, but very rarely do you want to do that. You guess you can do the Grundy maneuver if it's in solo and a Devilfish and go pick up the Pathfinders. We know that already. But what you can do is if, for example, Darkstrider goes inside a Devilfish with some breaches, say, when you send the Devilfish and get out the breaches, you can drop out Darkstrider to then guide for the breaches. Because the problem that you're going to have now, especially in denser terrain formats, is yes, you can send the breaches there, but do you want to guide with a Devilfish that doesn't have a marker line? No, because then the enemy's going to get cover, so your AP1, your breaches does nothing. So having a separate individual mobile guider is going to be huge. So an alternative is Darkstrider at 60 points. You just put him in the list, he can go and assist your Breacher Fish, other stuff, and he's a solo dude that can be annoying, and his no deep strike within 12 is kind of handy as well, especially with a lot of the rapid ingress plays that you've seen in armies like Raven Guard. Also can be very good against armies that deep strike, looking at those AdMech with the bats, all that kind of stuff. So he does have a place in the meta. And I think him for a 60-point character, really, really good. He's got to be cognitive of how many characters you take in the list for assassination purposes. All right. The other thing that we're seeing, very popular in, say, Mont'ka, is Ethereals, because any detachment that loves to spend stratagems, CP on stratagems like EPC and Mont'ka, you're going to see a couple of Ethereals. Now, the good change is that the Ethereal now has marker drone, right? And it can also has for the greater good. So what you can now do is just have a solo Ethereal at 50 points, marker drone, shield drone. So brilliant. And give him a hover drone movement 10. So you could have a solo Ethereal in a Devilfish, but if you have a solo Ethereal in a Devilfish, he can't generate the CP because he's not on the battlefield. So you could just have him like backfield screeners that's covering, like zoning out 9 inches, and then just guiding from afar when needed. Or you can have an Instruct Reserve still rolling to generate you a CP, because it's strange, even though they're not on the battlefield, they still are. So it's weird. You can be in a transport and not use your abilities, but you can be off the table and still use your abilities. So that is a weird interaction, but this is what we've got. We can do that. And then you can come on from like the flanks in the later stages of the game or cutler at tight angles. And it's just a 50-point unit, right? Okay, if it gets shot back, it's probably going to die with 4 wounds with the shield drone and a 5% vulnerable save. Not really known for its durability. So for me, I think the Ethereal could be a good option. I just don't like Ethereals. Anyway, moving on. This one I think is golden. I think this one we've been sleeping on. So first off, let's clear up some of the confusion that I keep seeing people ask. No, their rule, precise targeting. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets a spotted unit, you could reroll the hit roll. So it's not giving you Tetra rerolls. Your units that are guided are not full rerolls. It's just the Firesight Marksman with his long shot pulse rifles will gain the full rerolls to hit if they're targeting the unit that they've spotted. All right? Now, 60-point character. This is where the money shot is. It's a 60-point lone op. It's a 60-point lone op. It's a 60-point lone op. I think you get what I'm trying to talk about here. It's an uninteractive piece that can basically sit on a flank and say to your opponent, anything that comes in my line of sight, I'm going to spot, and you can't interact with me, so you're not going to be able to eliminate my guiders. We've not been taking this because stealth suits just 80 points. Look at us, we're the heroes, just take us. So we've been sleeping on the fact that we could be taking this Firesight Marksman all the time, but we've just favoured stealth suits because why wouldn't you? We reroll ones to hit, ones to win, but the opponent can interact with these units. So now that we've been kind of forced to kind of like eat this 110-point tax and we're a little bit down and out, time to experiment and try new things. So a single Firesight Marksman team can just, like I said, tiny base, lone op, stealth, toughness 3, 4 wounds. Okay, look, if they do manage to get to it, it's going to die. It's got the marker light. The only thing is, it's movement 6, but it's also OC3 as well. So do think about that. It's OC3. So consider an objective, lone op can't get to me, and I'm OC3. Combine it with, say, a ghost kill, and you've suddenly got OC6 on the objective. That's pretty good. Now, the only thing to watch out for is that outside of Mont'ka, they're not exactly fast. The movement 6. So you need to really kind of prioritize where you deploy it because it can't advance and guide because it does not have a marker drone. Like, marker drones give the ability to advance and still guide, whereas marker light does not. So unless the Firesight is in Mont'ka, which then you can advance and still be eligible to shoot, means you can still guide. In any other detachment, you will not be able to unless you spend a stratagem, say, for example, in Auxiliary Cadre. But why would you be spending that on a Firesight Marksman unless it was absolutely crucial? So I think Firesight Marksmen are great. And there's another reason why they're really good as well. They're infiltrators. So you could infiltrate them as well. So you can kind of set them up in really good positions. Or if you're going for like an alpha scout and aggression kind of style of play with like a couple of ghost kills, infiltrating Pathfinders, you could also infiltrate this guy as well. So again, has some really unique plays, and on top of that, he's an infantry character. So just put him in a Delphish. 60 point. So you can have 10 breaches, a Cadre 5 at 11, you got one more space, put in a Firesight Marksman. So you imagine a Firesight Marksman being inside a Delphish, in Mont'ka, for example. You've got another Firesight Marksman chilling on the board with Strike Swiftly for Scout Move 6. You can then Scout Move the Devilfish 6 inches. You can then yeet the Devilfish with auto advance 6, 18, get out the guy's 3, so that's 24, it's 27, and then you can shoot, and then you Cadre Fire Blade with these breaches, and the Firesight Marksman goes, yeah, I'll guide for you. Done. And then if you had, like, CP manipulation, whether it be, like, Farsight or Kroot Warshaper with the free ability, or you've got an Ethereal and you've rolled a 4+, you could then do reroll wounds coming out of a vehicle if, for example, they're not on an objective, or extra AP if you need to. That's the serious alpha strike. And then you can have another Devilfish with Pathfinders and doing the same thing, so you can absolutely yeet forward. So the Firesight Marksman team going inside a Devilfish is great, especially to help you in some of those like tighter angles. So take round 1 on UKTC, for example. You've now got the heavy board on their expansion objective. It's got this 5x5 plate. Usually you can draw line of sight from the corner over here. Now you can't. You have to actually be on the plate. So the only way of you doing that is to have something inside the transport that can then observe. So Firesight Marksman is your man. Strike team. So we talk about the points of 80 points for previous stealth suits. Well, now we've got a strike team that nobody ever takes. I was taking it because it's 75 points. It's an OC2 unit. It's got actually quite an interesting rule if you pull it off with the suppression volley. If you're targeting infantry units, one of them that you've hit you just subtract 1 from the hit rolls, and that's for both shooting and combat, by the way. So pretty good. And if you stay still, you can use your indirect turret, and if you hit an infantry unit, then -1. Anyway, 75 points. A unit that can not only be a caddy for, say, an Ethereal, if you do take an Ethereal, you've also got Guardian Drone, so -1 to wounds. You've got 10 wounds, toughness 3, but obviously most things will be minimum winning on 3s. And then, cool. Brilliant. There you are. It's a guiding unit. Put one guy out, guide, get shot back, lose half the unit, still have half the unit behind the wall, do it again. You get 2 uses out of this. So, strike team, 75 points, cheap as chips, great as a guider. Pathfinders, we know, mention them a lot. They're 90 points. So many shots, so much utility. Absolutely amazing for us. If it wasn't for this unit, we'd be in a bind. So, Pathfinders, essential. Honestly, in every single detachment, bar from Kroot, in Kroot and Auxiliary, I can say minimum 1 unit of Pathfinders. In every other detachment, I'd say 20 minimum. In Mont'ka, you want to be taking 30 of these. Simple as that. Why? Well, you got Grab, -2 to charge if you choose that drone. Recon, Infiltration, and having Scout 7, Infiltrate and Scout, is a powerful mechanic to have. 2 of the most powerful mechanics in the game. You've got ranging between 14 and 22 Strength 5 shots, then 9 Ion shots, self-guiding, ignoring cover. You've got a little semi-automatic grenade launcher, anti-vehicle 4+, devastating wounds, etc., etc., etc. So good for their points. So Pathfinders, 10 Kroot and Auxiliary, 20 everywhere else, 30 in Mont'ka. But I've been favouring 30 in Retcad. I just love them anyway. So Pathfinder's great. You should be taking lots of them. Skyray. Skyray is really good because it's a toughness 10, 14 wound, 3 up save tank. So in order for the opponent to deal with this observer, it has to put something decent into it. Now, not all the time you'll be wanting to use a Skyray as an observer, because obviously you want it to be firing at full efficiency. But in certain detachments, specifically Kauyon, you can do coordinate to engage. So putting out Skyray and, say, a Riptide to kill a tank, you can go, well, my Skyray is going to guide the Riptide. I'm going to spot that tank that I wanted to shoot. And then the Skyray is going to use the coordinate to engage to gain the benefit of the +1 ballistic skill and ignore and cover. So therefore, you've got this Skyray guiding the Riptide, making that package self-sufficient rather than having to put out, say, a stealth suit unit to be potentially shot back or killed. So for me, and then you can have Shadowsun nearby for reroll 1s to hit on both of these. You know, that's a nice little package. Skyray, Riptide, Shadowsun basically goes, cool, let's go. Yes, you don't get the reroll 1s to wound from the Riptide, but the Skyray is twin linked anyway, and the reroll 1s will help. So, excuse me. Skyray, really good, and then for that late game as well, in other detachments, if you are running a little bit low and you need to get that angle on something to guide, you could always auto-advance in Mont'ka or Skyray 16 inches to then be able to guide something that's coming out of a Delphish or Crisis team that's deep striking in. So again, having a very mobile gunship, but then can also guide, because it has the Mont'ka keyword, is going to be really useful. And it's hard to remove because, again, T10, 14 wounds, 3 up save, needs something dedicated to kill it. Okay, so we're going to go to our last 2 recommendations here. And the 2 recommendations are going to be Starscythe Flamers. Starscythe Flamers are amazing. And this is these last 2 alternatives are phenomenal for the points. Okay, so 110 points, direct comparison to stealth suits. So stealth suits, you got a 5-man unit, 2 wounds each, stealth, 3 up save. So you've got 10 wounds, 3 up save, no fallback and shoot. Yes, they grant you free rapid ingress and reroll 1s, take 1s to wound, and they have stealth. Cool, awesome, brilliant. 3 Starscythes with a shield drone, 1 with a shield drone marks drone, the other 2 with a gun drone shield drone, will have 15 wounds, T5, 3 up save. They have an additional AP when they're targeting non-monster vehicles. They are eligible to shoot in a turn which they fell back. And also, they're flamers, so they don't need to be guided. And they're very self-sufficient, just like Pathfinders. Flamers, ignore cover, torrent. So this particular unit is going to be amazing because, one, they have deep strike as well, whereas obviously the stealth suits have infiltrate, these have deep strike. So if you're worried about trying to get the angles and things to observe, then these Starscythe Flamers could deep strike in or rapid ingress and then move out. And they are going to be doing the same thing as your Pathfinders and acting like solo. That frees up a lot of like planning, frustration, a whole lot, because when you have self-sufficient units in your Tau force, it just allows you to utilize resources correctly, like trading, not just having to overextend a lot of units to then have them all removed, and you've not done the damage because your Riptide's whiffed or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, well, I've not just lost the Riptide, I'm going to lose unit A, B, and C because that unit didn't die. Whereas having self-sufficient units, it just stops that from happening. If you do have a bit of a whiff, it's okay. You just lose the one unit that you sent to go and do that thing rather than multiple. So the Starscythe Flamers for 110 are honestly amazing. Now, if you look at the detachments that they're going to actually benefit from, Retaliation obviously stands out. EPC obviously stands out because EPC, you can do the stratagem for re-rolling the dice, some of the dice that you roll when you're doing your Flamers. So if you roll like 3 6s and 3 1s, you can just re-roll the 3 1s. So that's going to help. And obviously +1 strength, +1 AP stratagem that you could do. Yes, you do hazardous test, but who cares, right? They can guide something else and then do the damage into something else. So this, for me, is a really key unit. And then in Retaliation, you're doing +1 strength, so your Flamers go from strength 4 to strength 5. +1 AP if you're within 9, so then suddenly, if you're targeting non-monster vehicles, you're AP 2. And they're 110 points. So, again, alternative. Exactly the same points as stealth suits, have a completely different role and can be self-sufficient. So if you're looking for consistency in terms of reroll ones to hit ones to move from the back, yeah, stealth suits still rock and roll if you get the opportunity to. But that's only really going to be on GW boards. WTC and now UKTC are way denser. And this is no disrespect to GW players out there. You are blessed by having the GW terrain layouts. In the UK and in Europe, we are definitely having a harder time with Tau because we have got more denser terrain, less options for us just to guide all the way down the field. UKTC used to be like GW, but now it's changed to stop these really obnoxious firing lanes from one deployment zone to another. So the emphasis on mobile observers is going to be critical in WTC and UKTC settings. We're not going to be able to replicate the whole stealth suit sits at the back and guides all the way down the field. It's not going to happen for us. So we have to look at alternatives like this, whereas you guys can kind of get away with what you've always done. And I wish that everyone just went to GW terrain, if I'm honest, and then they all work together. We'll have to see what the future brings. So Flamer Starscythe, amazing in all detachments. I've even got players in my Discord, Holodiscus, who's a Kroot fanatic, has been doing very well with his Kroot, has just been experimenting with Flamer Starscythe in Kroot. And honestly, hearing him talk about them was amazing. You've got Flamers being talked about in our Rec Card discussions, and I've been looking at a full-on crazy 27 suits list with no stealth suits. 3 units of Flamer Starscythe, just to be like, okay, multiple Overwatch threats as well. I've got quantity, I've got extra strength, extra AP, etc., etc., etc. Mobile, guiding, deep strike, 6-inch, fire and fade. I've got fall back and shoot. So many options. So for me, yes, the stealth suits is a bit annoying, but I'm over it because I've got so many other options. And then we're going to go into the final one, which I'm going to give massive credit to one of our Discord members, Furman. He basically joins me on the UKTC scene and he's been doing some excellent work with his Mont'ka builds. A beautifully painted army, beautifully converted as well. And we were having a discussion and he came up with this one. And I was just like, nice. Solo Enforcer. You're thinking, huh? Solo Enforcer Commander. How many points is he? 80. How many points for stealth suits? 80. Okay, cool. Now we're talking. Let's have a look at why. Okay, so, yeah, I want to give him guns because he's a commander. He can take 4 guns, right? Give him a cyclic, give him 3 plasma rifles, maybe give him 4 fusions, maybe give him a cyclic and, 3 missile pods or 4 missile pods. I don't know, lots of guns. Now, ignore that. Don't take it for that. He's not there for a gunmander. He's there for, okay, this model's burst cannon can be replaced with one of the following. Yeah, let's put a shield generator on him. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's a 4-up in one. It's toughness 5, 2 up save, nice. 2 up save, 4 up invuln, nice. 6 wounds, I'll give him a marker drone and a shield drone. Yeah, I wanted to have the marker like keyword, and I'll give him an extra wounds. He's got 7 wounds. Okay, cool. So he's 7 wounds, 2 up save, 4 up invuln. Okay, cool. I like that, yeah. Okay, so what guns do we give him? Yeah, let's give him flamers. Yeah, let's give him 1, 2, 3 flamers. Oh, let's go with 2. Let's put the battlesuit sports system on him as well. Now we're talking. So, this is the combo. He's got 2 flamers. All right, cool. Self-sufficient, doesn't need to be guided. He's got 2 flamers. Got a battlesuit support system. What does that do? It allows you to fall back and shoot. Why is that important? Well, if you do get tagged up, you can fall back, guide, and shoot. Sick. Brilliant. And then you've got a shield gunner on him for more durability. So for 80 points, I've got a 7 wound character with a 2 up save, 4 up invuln. He can fall back, shoot, guide. He's got 2 flamers to go and hunt down some trashy little cultist unit. He's on a 60 mil base that's harder to screen because he's not attached to a crisis team. Cool. Like that. Nice. Okay, yeah, he's not leading units, so you don't get his buffs of the, what do you call it? The AOC, reducing armor penetration. But, yeah, I'll give him a battlesuit support system. So for this, okay, it's really important. We're looking at alternatives now, and I think a lot of these options that we've given you, and if we just list a few of them, okay? The Firesight Marksman, the Solo Ethereals. So the Firesight Marksman, Darkstrider, can go in transports to help your mobile observation game, right? Ethereals can help with backscreening and observing from afar. Pathfinders can be your utility. They can do a bit of everything. Then you've got, okay, emphasis on mobile deep striking observers. Flamer Starscythe, solo enforcers with the battlesuit support system, 2 flames and shield generator. So all of these options here are great because it allows you to be more fluid with your battle plan, not struggle to get into those awkward staging points that combat armies love to kind of shove everything in the middle in that little corner in the L and go, you can't get to me, I'm going to send at you next turn. So then you have to send out screens, etc., etc., etc. Having units like this will allow you to play around the opponent doing something like that I mentioned. So I think when you start to look at all these objectively and go, actually now, the problem was I'm really, really annoyed that the stealth suits have been nerfed. Valid. I did a post in my Discord agreeing with you all. It is annoying. But it has forced us to start to look at the bigger picture. And you could say, well, other armies don't ever have to do that. They just get given all the free toys. Yes, Marine players do get given all the free toys all of the time, and it's frustrating. But when we look at this, we've found lots of solutions that are actually opening up the way we play, improving the way that we play. And if we didn't have this shift and be forced to do so, we probably would have never looked at them. Because we'd have just carried on doing what we've always done with the stealth suits and getting what we've always got. So I want to just set the premises that I do think this has been lazy rules writing from GW. I do think this was not just, but I also want to say that there may be a bigger picture at play here. We don't know what's going to come with the slate. We don't know what new rules come in. Is this future-proofing Tau for the 11th edition? We don't know. We simply are only seeing the tree, not the forest. So I'm going to hold off until the slate and things like that, but I do think we've got a lot to work with, hence why I wanted to just kind of go through the alternatives and give you my thought process to how I've been looking at the stealth suits nerf. And apologies, this video is like a week or 2 late, but I have been busy with other stuff. And again, I like to sit on things rather than just acting emotionally immediately. And I have done that in the past when Auxiliary Card came out and it wasn't pretty, but then I turned around and I was like, actually, it's pretty good. So hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm going to be doing a bit more around the Christmas time. I've got my diary a little bit freed up now. It's not as many events. So I've got lots of things planned coming away. So the next one is going to be looking at the UKTC changes, because I know that's quite a big one and we need to have a look at that. And if you are interested in joining the Puretide program, please, please, please you can do your due diligence and like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube channel to help the growth of the channel. That would be hugely appreciated. But if you really want to get the most out of your journey with Tau, then I'd encourage you to click on the link below. And even if you sign up on the Shas'ui just to kind of have a look at what's going on, it's a really well laid out professional Discord. It's welcoming. It's fantastic to talk about the faction that you love. And then if you want to improve your game, whether it be a little, a lot, you've got different tiers available to you. And each tier offers you something unique. You know, the Pathfinder tier gives you your detachment discussions. It also gives you access to a demonstration day call that happens every month, and some random ad hoc calls that happen throughout the month, and a lot of content that I've pre-recorded and uploaded to the WOP library. And then with the other tiers, the Shas'ui gives you that kind of access to the list building stuff, right? And that's where the magic happens. So you do have access to join a call every 2 weeks. All of my calls are recorded, so you can watch at your own leisure if you can't quite make the live date or time. And then in the Shas'el, we really delve into the meta-analysis. We have a group coaching session, which is absolutely amazing. Every month, we all get together and we chat around some of the benefits of kind of our detachments, but more focused on like goal-orientated conversations. So a lot of members say, like, I would like to get to this rank, or I want to potentially, join a team tournament, or I want to just be the best in my region. These are the things that are working well for me. These are the things that I'm struggling with. What would you advise? How can I get to this point? And we have a real honest discussion. And then the main selling point of the Shas'el is that every tournament, most tournaments that I go to, is the big ones, I do a tournament review and I give you my play-by-plays, all my tactics and everything that I'm doing throughout the game. So I go to the tournament, come back, do a full TTS deep dive of every single round and every single game. So please check it out. Now, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I'll speak to you all soon, and get ready for the next UKTC deployment videos.